Hi everyone, I am Ndah Grimbald, the author of the Black Book Doctrine. I invite each and every one of you to follow my interviews on Zenu Publishers platforms.
Dr. Ndah Grimbald, thank you for receiving us in your office today. Good morning to you.
It's a pleasure. Good morning. I'm happy to receive you in my office today.
You are an author, a Cameroonian author. You are the father, if I can say so, of the Black Book Doctrine. Please tell me which personal or collective experiences were decisive in your entry into literature.
I have never ever thought that I would be an author before in life, because I have never really been a good literature student. I decided to take the science option when I was in the secondary school, and so in Form 4, I went and I chose the science option. So the last time I studied literature was in Form 3, and I had a bad experience. But over the years, especially when I was 17, I was really interested. I was intrigued by the US invasion of Iraq in 2003. I was in Form 5 then, I was 17. So when that happened, I asked myself, how is it possible that a government can take unilateral decisions to invade another sovereign country and remove its leader by force? And then as years passed on, I was so disturbed and troubled by the situation in Cameroon. And so I have experienced firsthand how impunity has become the order of the day. How those who commit injustice, those who embezzle, those who are responsible for crime, those who are responsible for the underdevelopment of the state go scot-free, and nothing is being done to them because of impunity. And so all these things, alongside the loss of African identity, really made me to want to document something. I started writing my ideas bit by bit 17 years ago when I was in school. As I said, I started putting down my ideas bit by bit. I started writing about what is it that can make someone a good leader. Why is Cameroon the way it is? What is wrong with Africa? When I read history, I learned that Africa is the cradle of civilization. Africa is the mother of humanity. Yet Africa is the most backward continent in the world. And so these are some of the things that pushed me to write this book. And although I was writing, I didn't know that I would end up publishing. After I had written on so many sheets of paper, I decided to bring them together. And when I brought it together, an idea came. And what was that idea? Why shouldn't I write it in the form of a book that can be published? And that is how the Black Book Doctrine came to light.
You say in your book, The Black Book Doctrine, that the world does not need democracy. What does it mean?
Mr. Kami, democracy is an old concept that has divided humanity, the subject of democracy. Before we had prophets that were appointed by God when we read the Bible. And then after that, we had kings, emperors, that led to kingdoms, that led to dynasties. And then after that, when humans realized that even the kings that they had as leaders and the emperors that they had as leaders, they were still not able to live a fulfilled life. And you can see from human history that so many nations rose against their kings and their emperors in order to have what we call today democratic leaders. And that is how democracy came into the world. When the children of Israel said to God, we want our own king, just like our neighboring nations have, God was disappointed. And when God had appointed Saul, and when Saul was the mediator between the Israelites and the divine one, that is God, the people were still not satisfied. And at a point in time, Saul complained to God that the people are rejecting his word. And God said, Saul, it is not you the people have rejected, it is me. And God said, okay, I will anoint them for a leader. And that is how Saul came to be the first king of Israel. And that trend has continued throughout humanity. And even when Saul came, there were problems. David came, Solomon, up to today that we have so-called democratic leaders. What has democratic leaders brought to Africa? That is the bone of contention.
Let me put some question, please. Tell me, is the problem democracy or another thing?
The problem is the style of governance, but that is a secondary problem. I must be sincere. The main problem is us humans, is the leader himself. It is the person, the figure we call leader. That is the main problem. Because if someone whom we call the anointed one, the leader, the president of the republic, the prime minister, is someone that truly works for the common good of the people, we wouldn't have problems. But that is not the case. You and I know that.
So the problem is sort of misleading.
So no, it's not misleading. If we cannot achieve the main objective, we look for the secondary objective. And what do I mean? If we cannot trust a human, one of us, to lead us in the right way, then we should be able to set up a system that can control those humans whom we call leaders. And that is why I said that humanity does not need democracy. What humanity needs is service. Service born out of the act of love. If I love you, Mr. Kami, I will not do anything that hurts you. That is what I am saying. That service, that love that is found at the bottom of the heart of the leader is what we need in reality. This is the problem with democracy. Even idiots can be elected as leaders through a democratic process. A bad leader, someone that is void of moral values, that is void of spiritual values, that is void of intellectual values, can be elected as leaders. But is that the kind of person that a society truly needs? No. The society needs someone that is spiritually upright, that is morally sound, in order to become a good leader. And that is why we have societies like that of China that have decided to train a certain class of people who have high spiritual and moral values, from among which they can tap to become their leaders. That is the shortcoming of democracy.
I was saying that as an African author, what is the place of identity through your literary production?
Identity is very important in my work because I am relating it to the concept of leadership, to the concept of service. What do I mean? God created a world with diversities. We Africans, we are black. The Europeans are white. The Asians, the Latin Americans have a different brown color. And so when you look at the planets of the world, and when you look at the structuring of human relations throughout the world, you are going to notice that we are from diverse cultures, and each and every people perceive God from the standpoint of their culture and their tradition. That is why I brought in the concept of the African identity. Now, the African identity is born out of the phenomenon or the concept of Ubuntu. I am because you are. We are all Bantus generally in Africa. And so the idea that we live through a community is so predominant in Africa, which is contrary to the individualistic idea of European societies. In the Western world, it is believed that God created man and endowed man with capabilities. And so the Westerners believe that each and every human being in the world is endowed with a capability that can enable him or her reach his or her fulfillment in life. In Africa, we believe that the difference is that we believe more in communal life. We believe that we can better grow as a community than as an individual. And that is why the African way of life in general is social, is socialism. Why the Western way of life, particularly the American way of life, is based on individualism, while our own way of life is based on collectivism. So our style of governance cannot be the same as theirs. And if we try to copy their style of governance, which is what we have been struggling to do since independence, we will fail, and it has been proven that we have failed.
So, can you say that your writing oscillates between social realism and deep introspection?
Thank you very much. Yes, I like that word, social realism. That is exactly what I am trying to promote in terms of ideology. And that is why I talked of the Ubuntu ideology and the political and philosophical ideology of socialism. We have social democracy. We have social liberalism. These are all concepts that are similar to the concept of Ubuntu. Social realism is the reality of Africa. That is the truth.
What do you put inside social realism?
Good. What I mean by social realism is collectivism, is common interest. It is the common good of all men. What we do not do for the good of one man, we do for the good of all. And that is why excessive capitalism is condemned in my writing, because excessive capitalism is the accumulation of wealth. Did you follow the recent report on global inequality? This is what it states. The wealthiest 0.001% of the world own wealth that is equivalent to the 50% poorest of the world, meaning that only about 60,000 people own wealth that is equivalent to that of about 4 billion people.
But they are what they are because of their labor.
It is not only because of their labor, Mr. Kabi, and that is what we think. That is the misconception that the capital ideologies are bringing. Who are laboring for them? They are people. They don't labor by themselves. They are people laboring for them, and there is sufficient evidence from the Global Inequality Report to show that the world is the poor are so exploited. Do you know that in that report, it is said that these people practically don't pay taxes because it is income that is taxed. But if you look at it from the economic point of view, these people don't have income, they don't earn a salary. What they have is asset. They don't tax their assets because it is not income, so to say. Those who earn salaries, meager salaries, that is what is being taxed. That is the social injustice I'm talking about, and that is the individualism I am condemning in my work.
Tell me, as a writer from Cameroon's Anglophone space, how do you perceive the responsibility of the author in the face of the country's linguistic and cultural tensions?
It is my responsibility to educate Cameroonians even from the standpoint of view as an intellectual. That is why Cameroon is a very interesting case study, because Cameroon has about 250 languages, and Cameroon has two main cultures. That is the French culture and the English culture. These are the colonial legacy, so to speak. Although Cameroon has never really been a colony, Cameroon was a trusteeship territory. But these are all foreign legacies, the British and the French. But you see that before the British and the French came into Cameroon, Cameroon was one people. And that is why all of us still have historical feelings towards Umniobe and the UPC. Because Umniobe and the UPC were fighting for reunification before independence, while the French wanted independence before reunification. And so this book brings in that aspect which I elaborated in part 3 of the book, that is the Republic of Cameroon and the way forward. It tries to tell Cameroonians that, look, we are one. Anglophones, we should stop fighting amongst ourselves. I have condemned secession and separation in my work. The Northwest and the Southwest and the rest of Cameroon is one people, is one country, is one destiny, just like the rest of Africa. So what I am doing is that I am trying to make Cameroonians become conscious of the fact that we shouldn't think only about Francophone, Anglophone, or Cameroon. We should think Pan-African. We should think black. And it is only through that way that we can go and become competitive in the world. Africa's GDP in the world is just about $3 trillion. Africa's economy represents less than 2% of the world's GDP. Africa is the poorest continent in the world, yet the most resource-rich continent in the world. One of Africa's main problems is disunity, and Kwame Nkrumah said it. He said it, that divided we fall, united we can form a formidable force, and instead of thinking separation, we should be thinking unity. And Cameroon is a perfect example where African unity can begin.
How do you view the young generation of Cameroon, and what major evolutions do you observe in themes and literary?
I think that the major evolution I am observing in today's current Cameroon young writers is the move towards the Pan-African ideal. If you look at the works of so many African writers, few that I have seen over the national TV station recently, most of them are talking about the African identity. They are talking about the family. They are talking about the role of the woman in the family and in the society. And surprisingly, Mr. Kame, but excitingly, unfortunately, is that even the women Some are beginning to move away from mainstream gender talks. Meaning what? The idea that man and woman is equal, the way the West and the world tries to make it, is not the idea that God created, is not the idea God had in mind when he created man and woman. Woman has a role in the family and the society. Man has its role in the family and in the society that are distinct, they are not the same. Therefore, man and woman cannot be the same from the concept of human thinking. From the concept of God thinking, each of us have distinct roles. Many African young writers are beginning to bring in these ideas that can cement the African bond of solidarity. And they are saying that let us return to our African roots, the way they were originally, the way God created us. We have a family structure that should be respected. And all of what I am saying is within the Pan-African ideal. Because what is Pan-Africanism? To put it in short, Pan-Africanism is growing together. It is the Ubuntu ideology. I am because you are. Let us work collectively and build a common society where each and every one of us will be happy.
I think that's the last question. Tell me, what major challenges do you currently face in your journey as an author?
One of the most difficult problems I face is readership. Cameroonians do not really read. The few Cameroonians that take their time to read actually do it very well, but they are too few because many Cameroonians think that what is more important for them is economic survival, and removing 1,000 francs, 2,000 francs, talk less of 5,000 francs or 10,000 francs to buy a copy of a book is really a burden, and it is really a difficult thing. When I went to Librairie du Peuple Noir and other libraries like Pressbook and so on, I saw so many books there. I was fascinated. That is knowledge lying out there, ready for Cameroonians to consume. But it is not the case. For my conversation with most publishers, buying books is really a difficult problem. I can tell you that it is the main problem of writers in Cameroon and in the Central African region, because I was involved in data analysis concerning book publishing and readership in Central Africa, organized by UNESCO. And from the data collected and from the analysis, I can tell you that one of our main problems, if not the main problem of writers and authors in Cameroon and in Africa in general, is readership. The second problem is lack of a public policy on book publishing. The sector does not really receive subsidies from the government. The government does not really promote it, and there is really no clear-cut policy on the promotion of writings and book publications in Cameroon. Otherwise, it will have been very easier for writers to publish their book in electronic form as well as in hard copy.
Finally, what are your writing perspectives?
I am more concerned with leadership, and that is why the Black Book Doctrine is so focused on leadership, particularly African leadership, African spirituality, and African morality. So it is a melange of all of these things, as well as social sciences, in order to educate the public on what it really takes to become a good leader and what it really takes to be of service to the people, and how Africa can breed good leaders in order that Africa can be taken out of the current state of backwardness in which it finds itself.
Dr. Ndah Grimbald, thank you for this interview.
It was a pleasure. I am happy that I was you are set to educate Cameroonians on some of the socio-cultural and political issues affecting the life of Cameroon and Africa in general.